Right, so what did we do last stream then? Let's remind ourselves. Well, as you can see here, we've got a new character on our dialogue flows. We use Draw.io to sort of mock up all our dialogue, because it makes it way easier when it comes to implementing when we already know what's going in. For me it does anyway. I like that workflow. And he is here. We did him last stream. Well, we did him last week actually, but we were finding the perfect outfit for him last stream, and I think he looks pretty cool now. I think it suits him. He's meant to be more of a practical guy. He's a craftsman, weapons master, and he's not as flamboyant as this boy here. He's even got a tattoo, and thanks to Holder we got the perfect colour for it as well, because we was having some trouble, funnily enough, making it look good and not garish and strange. So he looks awesome now. And we put him here. I've still got question mark by the name, because really at this point we don't know who he is. That's why we've got Carol just labelled as Barrel right now and not Carol, because she hasn't introduced herself. Nigel is just called the innkeeper at this point, and then once he's introduced himself, we name him Nigel. And now the next thing, right? So this is as far as we've got. If we get RPG Maker up now, the point where Duncan enters the scene is the furthest we've got with the scene implementation so far, because that's what we're focusing on for the next few weeks, getting all the scenes of Main Quest 1 and 2 perfected. Once the scenes are done, there's 10 scenes altogether, 5 in Main Quest 1 and 5 in Main Quest 2. Once they're all done, that will be such a step up, like a step forward, should I say, because we'll be so much closer to the first playable build release once they're all in. And from that point forward, it'll just be implementing a few of the battle mechanics, because I think I would like to have some battles in the first playable build as well. I don't want it to just be cutscene after cutscene and just walking with no battles. But I don't want to do those yet. I want to get the scenes done first before even touching that side of things, because it can get very confusing if you're doing lots of different things at once. But so yes, the next few weeks it's going to be scenes, and after that it'll be battles, and then after battles it'll just be cleaning up and preparing, and then it'll be out the first part. So who knows when that's going to be, but I'm thinking a month of scenes and a month of battles approximately. Originally I thought the scene stuff would only take a couple of weeks. I thought 1 week on Main Quest 1 and 1 week on Main Quest 2, but honestly it doesn't work like that. I've found that things take so much longer, especially things like scenes, because it's so... crafting scenes is not only time consuming, but like honestly it takes just hours to do one single little tiny thing with scene work if you're a perfectionist and you want it to actually look decent. So yes, it takes longer because of that. So originally I was like, yeah, it'd take a week to Main Quest 1, and then I was like, last stream I was like, by Wednesday we'll be on Main Quest 3. Well, it hasn't happened because there's been a lot of stuff I've been doing, which I'm going to talk about today. Yeah, I was up very late last night, by the way. I'm not going to tell you the time. It was the early hours, but I'm not going to say the time because you'll all freak out. But it was I just stayed up a very long time doing stuff, because you get super into it. And Dev is one of those things that you could spend all day doing and it feels like an hour, but it's actually been 12 hours. That's what it's like. And but yes, so you know, I'm a little bit disappointed I haven't met my targets with the scene work, but at the same time I'm actually not disappointed, because I'd much rather perfect things than rush them and have them just be really messy and not as good as they can be. But progress is being made, and because I haven't really done much extra in terms of scene progression and animation. We're going to start again today, but the reason why haven't done any is because I was taking screenshots for the Steam page. I might mention the last stream or so that I've been working on getting the new screenshots in, so that we can launch the Steam page, the coming soon Steam page. And as I was taking them, I was like, you know, these can look better. If you've been on the website, everybody, let's just get the website so we can see. The only job that really needed doing, mainly, was the switch from small sprites to tall sprites on the screenshots. And if you guys have been on the website recently, you might have noticed that we still have little chibi sprites in, which that's old now. We've moved to taller sprites at this stage. We actually made the switch at the very end of last year, late November time, I think. So the screenshots have needed to be updated for some time, and although the Steam page is definitely ready to get submitted now for the coming soon page, I've been not taking that step because I'm not willing to post the old screenshots of these guys. I want it to be updated, and because I've been working on the custom hero creator, that needed to be implemented first, really, before we could take the new screenshots, because we've got most of these are the hero. We've got the hero in every single screenshot here, and he's the small Jesus. And he's a big Jesus now, or whoever you want them to be, because they're a custom hero. I just so happen to have a bearded guy with brown hair and a sort of tanned, darker complexion. So I was like, yeah, let's call him Jesus. Barrel Chad is so cute. Oh, thank you. Yeah, the barrels, the MVPs of the game. And hi, Boolean, how are you doing? And hi, Lod as well. Ladinosaur. That's a cute name. Dinosaur. La Dinosaur. Beautiful website. Thank you so much. I apologise for completely butchering you. You know what? I'm going to just call you Dinosaur because it's so much easier. Hope you don't mind. But welcome. Welcome, welcome. It's a capital I, I'm afraid. Oh, is it? Yeah, that's a good trick, you know. I'll tell you a story, folks. When I was younger, I used to go on a website called Habbo Hotel, and I had the letter L in my character's name. Somebody decided they wanted to hack me and made the L a capital I, and you know, it was bad. And I've always feared that someone would do that with Rose Rainblood, because that's got an L in it as well. Someone could easily sign up, make that L a capital I and pretend to be me. You know what? I'm going to make that name myself, so no one can do that, because I'm actually worried now. Awesome. Yay. But welcome to stream, and thank you very much for kind words about the website. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, Diamond. So yes, they're getting updated, and I was like, you know, I want the screenshots to look even better. So it led me to start thinking of ways that we could have a little bit of variety, because one thing we do have, if we get the press kit up, there's even more screenshots on there. Because this is set in a forest, it's all forest in episode 1, so all the screenshots look very much the same. We've got all this green forest, which is fine, but I was like, you know, it'd be cool to have different variety, so I started adding fog and screen tints, and for like different times of day. And I also made the tile sets about 75% more vibrant from what they are here, which they are pretty vibrant already, but because I added a fog overlay on top, it made them look a bit more like washed out, so I needed to give that extra vibrancy, and it's worked out fine. So I'm going to show you in a sec, folks. I'm going to show you, but I think just those little touches has like made quite a bit of difference. Here's paint. Okay, so here's an example, and for some reason paint's cut off, so I'm going to have to just move that there. I don't know why it was cut off, but we're good now. No, we're not good. That's missing as well. These screenshots are very rough, by the way. They're not even tidied up. They're all cropped and messily cut out. I just did a screen grab and rushed in. It was super in the early hours last night, so I just rushed and went to bed. But this is the like Everbloom Feisty. It's most vibrant with a bit of fog, and the fogs are on the rest as well. But it's darker. It's more night this on these ones. So I've been experimenting with that, and it's like created a bit more variety in the screenshots that we've got here. This is the custom hero creator as well with the new tool sprite. And here's Lake Fall with the tree, but it's more the nighttime colour palette there. It's even though I've scrolled over, it's not really. It's cutting it off, so I can't zoom in super close. But these screenshots, once they're at a standard, because I'm still experimenting, but I like what we've got. These will be put up on the website and the press kit once they're sort of done with. I'm about 90% sorted with it. And how long have you been working on this? It looks great so far. Thank you so much. Wow, the project started in 2019. 2019 was a little bit, the streams were a bit, you know, it wasn't regular. At one point I was only streaming once a month, and I went like 3 whole months in the summer of 2019 without streaming at all. But 2020 was the year this really begun. I see it as it was the year that I streamed on consistently throughout the whole year, which was awesome. And that's why we're already 200 streams now, because we had so many streams last year. At one point last year I was streaming 4 times a week. It was insane, but I've gone down to 3 times a week now, because that really helps give me extra time to get things done off stream. You really do need that off stream time to get the actual game development done, because it requires so much focus. I find it hard to work on stream, so the nature of my streams are more discussion focused for that reason. But yes, I think 2020 was the year that this project really got off its feet, and I started becoming more serious about it and started to pursue it as a proper project rather than just casual, light-hearted fun. Because back in 2019 it was just very casual. I didn't even take it seriously. It was going to just be a fun project really to get my creativity going, but I definitely didn't see it as commercial back then or anything that would ever be on Steam. I just thought it wouldn't be like polished or good enough. But then we started falling in love with the world and the story and the characters, the barrels. I got really passionate about the potential it had, because there's actually a really good lore behind it. And I remember making a lore video back in March last year, and I think that was the point in March last year when I made that lore video that I started to think this project actually has potential to be a good story, so I'm going to start taking this a bit more seriously. And it's going to be on Steam So ever since then, which is almost a year ago now since I did that little video, ever since then I changed my mind and decided that this should be a commercial project on Steam, and naturally I've started going over everything and polishing everything. The tile sets I've started polishing. I've made the switch from the default sprites to more sprites that fit the tone of the game more, and I'm gradually trying to make it into something that's awesome. So there's been the last 6 months, 7 months, there's been a lot of polishing going on. I started using tiled for our tile sets. That has drastically improved the quality since switching to tiled, rather than using the RPG Maker editor for tiles and the parallax mapping. And then after redid the whole of the Everboom Forest in tiled, that was when I decided we'll switch to the tall sprites as well, and it's consistently been getting cooler and cooler. And today I've only just decided I'm going to start messing with different overlays like fogs and colour tints to, really help the atmosphere and immersion. I think things like that it makes it feel like a real place and in a rich evolving world. So that's pretty cool, and I like this screenshot now. It looks so frigging bright and colourful, this bottom one does. And I apologise about the Nike hero character. They still don't have their clothes on at this point. And hi Ben, how you doing? I have a question. Website industry or bigger game industry? I will be glad if you answer very shortly. My English is bad. Oh, let me just clarify. Are you asking what's the better industry to go into for a career out of web or game? Is that what you're asking? I'm assuming from how your question's worded that is, but we'll see. If that is your answer, if that's your question, well, I apologise. I'm all over the place today, I can't even speak properly. I'd say that if you want to make money and you want a stable career, then web is probably the way to go. Well, most certainly the way to go, actually. But if you want to have fun and be more creative, then games, because that's kind of where I stand. I could go into web design if I wanted. I could have gone into that years ago when I left university or even college, but I didn't because I find it boring as hell. I couldn't do that, I have to have something exciting that gets me excited to get out of bed every day. And some people enjoy web design, if someone wants to do that, it's totally fine. Just it isn't my thing, not career-wise, it stresses me out. But working on this project, it's the opposite. I get so much fulfillment and fun out of it, and I get so much happiness from it. So this easily wins in regards to fun factor, but the problem is games is harder to probably make money, and you'll probably be skint for a very long time or forever even, because there's not even any guarantee your game will be a hit. It's a very saturated thing. So that's the thing. It's whether you want to make money and be stable but not have as much fun, or the opposite, have fun but not make as much money. So that's kind of what you got to weigh up, and everybody's different. You can tell I'm bored of work now. How you said I said university. Did I say it wrong? Yeah. What am I like? I'm a big doofus. What can I say? But thank you, Ahmed, for the follow. I appreciate that. And Ben for the follow as well. I appreciate the follows, folks. And it's lovely to see real people stop in and ask questions, I have to say. Because I'm so used to the last few months, this channel having nothing but bots come in. I even got bot attacked at one point a couple of months ago. I had 9k followers in 1 minute. And luckily I was just going offline the second that happened, so it didn't affect the stream because the stream was already over. But I was like, oh my goodness, and I deleted them all. I went on this tool website for Twitch followers and just deleted everybody that followed, because I didn't want to have fake followers on my account. It made me feel really weird seeing 9k, well, it was like something like 12k followers by my name. I was like, whoa, that isn't right. So I just deleted them all. May I ask what engine you are using for game dev? I use RPG Maker MV, and that engine definitely has its pros and cons. Let me tell you that. It's a great engine. It's easy to get something up and running fast. That was why it was my choice of engine in the beginning, because this community game, this Raindrop Chronicles, was originally like just a really fun, goofing off kind of project. It wasn't going to be commercial, and it was going to just be let's just have fun together on Twitch and be stupid. That was kind of the vision in the beginning, which, you know, that was fun. And for a while, until I started thinking, actually, I want to make a game seriously, then it changed. But unfortunately, obviously, because RPG Maker does have its limitations, it probably is one of the more limited game engines out there. But I know there's more flexibility with things like Game Maker and Unity, with what you can create and what you can do. But, you know, at the end of the day, what we're doing here is an old school style RPG, which really fits with this engine really well, and it's great. It's working fine despite its limitations. I tried to push the boundaries as much as possible with this engine, and by the time it comes out, if I achieve what I want to and what I have in mind, this is probably going to be one of the more ambitious RPG Maker games out there, because there's a lot of stuff I want to do, and it's pretty tough to do it. But I've already done one. I've got a layered custom hero feature in the game that dynamically updates, which by default is almost impossible to do in RPG Maker. So I'm pretty happy with that. Whether we come down problems and issues down the road, who knows? We always do in game dev. Bugs appear left, right and centre all the time, but we'll deal with that when the time comes. So it's working fine right now. Hi OGs, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Hi everybody. Welcome. I'm showing off some screenshots at the moment. I'm just letting everybody know that I've been spending the last day or two just experimenting with like overlays, like weather effects, fog and colour tints for time of day and that kind of thing, just to make the world seem a little bit more realistic and immersive. And because right now this is what we've got. This is the latest screenshots of our current build. It's beautiful and green, but I decided, you know, let's make the Everbloom Forest have a little bit more variety here. So we've got a nighttime colour scheme, we got a sort of middle between night and day colour scheme, and we got the full-on day colour scheme here. And that was a few hours work of experimenting with fogs and colours, and it takes a very long time to get the right colours, because at first it looked atrocious, the colours did. I had to keep messing to get the exact right thing look I was after. I keep thinking like I want to do burp, but I'll never burp ever. And the custom hero creator, originally it was just this really black screen with a slightly blue glow on it, but I'm trying to be a little bit more ambitious about where this takes place. I see it as a moonlit area, like a grove. And I'm thinking over time, as the builds go on, I might add a few more assets here to make it look like a sort of moonlit grove. I mean, it definitely looks moonlit because of the blue glow. But I'm thinking having some wildlife, little bits going on some little landmarks behind the hero or to the side, just subtly. Won't be over the top, but that would be over the time if we was to do something like that. We'll keep it basic for now. But I was messing about. Let me get a test play up actually. So I think I have turned the sound off in the test play, so which is cool because we don't want it clashing with our background music. Yep, it's on mute. I've updated the custom hero just a touch over the last couple of days. Now the hero actually walks into the scene as a silhouette. They never did originally. It was just a blank screen of nothing, with nothing but the text. And eventually, of course, as you make the character, it appears on the screen. But in the beginning, it was just a black screen, and I feel that this is a bit more visual and a bit more appealing and mysterious. But yeah, they're just a silhouette as they're walking, but you can set their complexion, their body type, and their hairstyle, etc., etc. And you get to see it come to life as you pick the choices. And you can have if you play as a feminine body type. You can pick female as a gender, but you can also pick neither as a gender, which is great for non-binary folk. If you want to play a non-gender character, that's well, not male or female, and you can have a bald female, and you can have them with a beard as well. So it's pretty. We don't limit that. So and it's great because our layered custom hero allows that as well. It wouldn't have been possible the old way because it would have been like a ridiculous amount of assets. But because we have a layered dynamic hero creator now, we can just do that with ease. Hi Rex, how you doing? So good to see you. Oh my goodness, 42 months. How is that many months possible? Thank you so much for the support. I appreciate it. Do you like our bat mascot? Anyone who's new here? It's cute, isn't it? This is what Rex got me actually. Christmas. Not this year, but the year before. Best mascot. Considering we have bat emojis, it's perfect. Let's have some hype in chat for that. Massive sub. I super appreciate the massive longest sub of the stream. Hype. Yeah, it would be nice if we had a hype command, but sadly our bot isn't sub to the channels. That's a really cute bat. Rex got you that. He sounds amazing. Yeah, he's the best person ever. I'm sorry, careless_Rex, but Careless Rex is the best person ever. You're not. That's harsh. I was meant to make a joke and it came out sounding harsher than it should have. Hype, yeah, thank you for the hype, everybody. No, you're the best person ever. I feel guilty now because my joke failed and it ended up coming out as an insult. Okay, so one thing I should have done, I realise now, is on the live tweet I should have put hashtags, which, for game dev stuff, hashtags actually work. I'll do that in the future. Okay. Right, so let's get test plap. I got distracted then. Here we go. Red hair. So I'm just going through a test plan of what we've done so far because I did update the custom hero create, just a really subtle change. We now have the hero walking into the scene as a silhouette, which is an improvement from having nothing there, which was how it was last time. And over time, you know, as I was saying earlier, we might make this more of a actual environment. I want to keep that the dark edges and the moonlight glow, because that's really important to keep that in, but make it look more of a scene, like little bits going on in the background, just in a subtle way where it's not taking the attention off of the hero being created. But that's not going to be yet. That's like detail stuff for a much later time. I think that the standard we're in here at the moment, this is good enough for version 0.1. And it's done now, I'd say, aside from a slight glitch now and again, maybe, but I don't think there is any. I've done like about 50 test plays through this, and I think it's fine. I don't think there's any bugs in this right now. The UI was a bit messy last week. The faces were coming up at the wrong time, but that's fixed now. So this is like done. The only thing that needs to be fixed is the transition into like the opening scene of Lakefall. It's a little bit awkward and clumsy as it transitions into Lakefall, which is weird because it actually transitioned there fine the other day, but I think since changing the colour tints of Lakefall, it's messed up with the transition a bit. So I'm gonna have to try and fix that awkward transition. It might take a few hours to get it perfected, because little things like that just take time, you know, just to get perfect. So you'll see what I mean in a minute about the awkward transition. Because I don't know, to me it probably looks like nothing to some, but I have a real eye for perfection, and I'm not happy with it. I want it to just blend a bit better. But this bit's fine, like all this bit when we're actually in Lakefall and moving to the player in the barrel is fine. In fact, I like it much better now we've got the tints and the fog. It just looks more atmospheric, especially with the sound on. When I've actually put the sound on, it's super cool. But I have a muted playthrough right now. But the scene gradually goes from nighttime to a sort of early morning colour scheme. That's kind of the plan anyway. But after this scene with Carol, it'll slowly get brighter until it's like as vibrant as the screenshot here. This one here in the bottom right. It starts as that, which is pretty dark. Then it is that, and then it becomes that, which we'll see in a minute. We'll see it slowly happen. And although there isn't like a proper day and night cycle implemented just yet, that will probably be slowly perfected and implemented as we go through the playable builds. But for now, we'll just I'll be doing tints manually for cutscenes. I'll script them in when the screen should tint. But in the future, like the long-term goal would be for it to dynamically have a day and night cycle. But I think the scripted colour tints will be fine for now, because that's kind of a lot of RPGs and Final Fantasy game single player ones do it that way. Some of the older ones, where it's night or day depending on what's part of the story you're in, and it's just scripted in. But then more open world RPGs tend to have a more dynamic day and night cycle, which I'm pretty interested in, but we'll see. It's not a certainty yet, but I'm curious to explore the idea of it being dynamic. But at the minimum, it'll have a sort of scripted day and night cycle at its most simple. Thank you, Rough Knight and Ryan Hawkins, for those follows. I appreciate it, folks. Welcome to the stream. I hope you're having a fantastic week so far. And this is the furthest we've got. As you can see, Duncan's in the scene now. He wasn't last time. And this is the point where it's not entirely perfect, the scene at this point forward. The rest of it, I think, the custom hero is great. The beginning of Lightfall, as we pan into the player and Carol, and the very, very start when we have the reaction when we walk out the barrel and she throws our clothes at us, that's all really cool, and I'm happy with that. I think the bits that need a bit of a fixing and smoothing over are, let me get, I Google dark up. So yeah, I've said only the transition, it's a little bit messy to me, so I just want to make that a bit more a little bit more seamless. And these are the only of the two things I want to just make the animation smooth when grabbing the axe or bow out of Carol. I've said look up Spriter, but honestly I don't think that's going to be compatible for what we're doing, but I'm going to look at other methods in a sec. And the other thing is making Duncan walk from the opposite side of Lakefall and look into a plugin that automatically moves into spaces. I'm making a list of everything that needs doing until that we need to do. And Richard, thank you so much for the sub 17 months. I appreciate that. How are you doing? Thank you for the hype, Rex. I appreciate it. Hope you're having a fantastic week. And I kind of like, I mean, the reason why I decided to start Lakefall at night and see a sort of slow, gradual turning to daytime is because the custom hero scene is meant to be at night time, like with the moonlight glaring down on us. So it feels more seamless to have that nighttime custom hero scene still be nighttime when we transfer to Lightfall. But obviously, because we wake up in this scene, we're inside the barrel, we're asleep, we open our eyes and jump out the barrel. I like it. It makes sense that it's become morning or early morning at that point. So that's why it's kind of starting to reach the morning point here, which is why we kind of got a halfway between daytime and night colour palette here right now. We need to add Duncan's avatar and we need to tidy up the text box. But that's it. We will finish main quest 1. Maybe we can move on to main quest 3. It was the goal to move on to main quest 3 today. But I will see, because there's a lot to think about animation wise for this scene. But as you can see, it's getting super bright now. The axe isn't on the player properly at this point in time. Like, that animation isn't done yet, so ignore that. We also need to put our clothes on still. But yeah, so the whole colour tint experimentation has worked okay so far. As you can see, it was dark and then it was like a little bit darkish, and now it's like full on super bright. So I don't think it's going to be a problem for me to have like screen tints that are scripted at the very least. But we'll see about a day and night cycle as we go through the builds. Something like that probably won't be on the agenda this year, because it's more about getting the scenes and main quests done this year, and next year is going to be features. But we'll see. Because, you know, sometimes I might be in the mood to have an experiment. But we got to do what's priority. And I'm going to take Calamity Ganon without putting on pants again, Yes, we are naked as a character at the start of the game. So it's definitely the sort of tone at the beginning game is interesting, because we're seeing a living barrel and there's something a bit mysterious about that. We had someone come in chat a while ago saying they'd actually be scared if they saw a living barrel. So for some it's a horror story. So It's mysterious and strange and quirky and odd, that's for sure a tone of the game at the beginning here, but it's mixed in with a bit of comic relief and humour because of the fact that she insults us, and just the whole concept of a living barrel is humorous. But it's not quite as slapstick or as like light-hearted as it originally was, this scene. So although it's still like funny and humorous and quirky as hell, it's got slightly more of a mysterious sort of tone going on, especially now with the slightly tinted colour palette in that scene, and with some of the ambient sounds I've been messing with as well, and musics. But I'm looking forward to getting this full scene added on the Discord or on Screenshot Saturday when it's done, because that's going to be the plan. As I said, the next few weeks is going to be scene work. The next month scenes, and the month after that it will be battles, maybe. Well, we know battles is the next thing after we've done the scenes. But yes, as we're doing scenes today, there'll be plenty of opportunities to get Screenshot Saturdays up, and it'll have full sound effects in as well. It won't be muted on the Screenshot Saturdays, because we'll use video clip rather than GIFs. I think they look better for our art style. And we can have sounds as well then. And are those squares that appear on the screen mouse movement controls? Those I'm hoping to get rid of as soon as I can, because I'm personally not a fan of the squares. But basically it's just mouse support, like, so that you can use a mouse as well as the keyboard. So using a keyboard is as simple as just that, but you can also use mouse in the game too. But I definitely would prefer it if we didn't see a square light up, I think, because it's just a bit distracting. But by default, that's how RPG Maker has it for its mouse support. But I'm sure there's a simple way to get rid of that. I don't know why they have it there, in all honesty. But you know, some people might not mind, it's subjective, but I personally hate it because it's just annoying seeing that square. And I actually disabled mouse support originally because of that annoying square. But I realise now we got to have mouse support because our game is actually going to be quite useful to use the mouse for. We're going to have loot and things, and you know, it's sometimes easier to use mouse in certain games, but it's fine to use keyboard too. It's whatever people prefer. I think having the choice is better for people because it lets people just do what they want then, whatever's easiest for them. But okay, so fun times. There's a few little visual glitches here as well. I think we're walking under the tree there, the trunk, but that's because we switched to tall sprites. When we were small sprites, that wasn't a problem because we fit in the square space. But there'll be an easy way to fix that on tiled to sort of compensate for that. Okay, so we'll cross this off temporarily now, but it's fun. It's fun to go from within just a day. Go from, oh no, I've crossed it off. Yeah, the press kit. That's what I was after. We're gonna show you then, and then it's gone. It's cool to go from these screenshots that are literally all just the same and no variety, even though they're different scenes, to something like this that has different colour palettes, but is clearly still a forest. You know, it's not like you know, it's all very fitting for the setting. So I'm looking forward to getting the new screenshots in, and as soon as the new screenshots are at a good standard, I'll be ready to submit the Steam page for review at that point. exciting times. Okay, so next task of the day. Okay, so over time I might look for some more fogs and things like that, but for now I think I'm happy with what we've got, so we can carry on with the animation and scene progression now. I paused a bit on the scene progression and animation with the scenes because I was like, I want to spend a bit of time looking for atmospheric things and fogs to make the actual visuals of the scene look better overall and more immersive. But I think now we're at a point we can carry on. Huzzah! Okay. But yes, I have been spending quite a bit of time listening to sounds as well. Mainly ambient sounds, like soundscapes, for stuff to go on to make it feel like we're actually in a forest, and blending all that in with the music. But I do need to look for general sound effects too, like UI clicks and things like that, because I have to say that the default RPG Maker ones are really obnoxious. We need some more pleasant and satisfying clicks and things like that, because when we have the custom hero creator, every time you pick an option, that we have this like little blue animation happen with the sound effect, and the sound effect there at the moment is dreadful. So I'm going to look for some better ones for that, but probably do that off stream. I think the sound effects thing. Some streams we might have set sound streams, you know, it all depends how we feel. But yes, sound is super important, just as important as the visuals, like, in my opinion. I don't think they should be neglected. They're like, you know, arguably the sounds can help with the immersion even more so than the visuals, because your ears are everything. Like, that's what gets the emotions going, right? Like, listening to music, listening to sound effects, that's what makes you feel something. Well, what makes me feel things anyway. I don't feel things from looking at something pretty visually, but I feel things from hearing things. I'm rambling, but I hope you get what I mean. Like, I think it's an underrated and looked over thing in most forms of media, sound. So I'm trying not to do that. I'm going to actually try and make it, although I'm far from a sound expert, I'm going to try my best to make it good. I think I have a good understanding of what good sound and good music is, though. I have good taste, so that helps. Sounds really interesting, pun intended, yeah. Sound design is very important, yeah. For sure, like Everbloom Forest, there's so much potential with it, you know, when we look at what we've got, and it's this enchanted forest, we could really have some really cool soundscapes going on. It's not just as simple as playing a lovely piece of piano music or flutes in the background, you know. It's about the other things as well that make it feel like a living, breathing forest, because it'll just fall flat otherwise. Because a lot of media just plays a really nice piece of music to accompany their game, but I want to go a bit further than that. I want to make it feel like a living, breathing forest. And listen, audio, think these puns are that annoying. I finally did read that in the end properly. I think I failed a little bit, but I tried. higher expert. Define Dreams is a sound expert, right? I'm not exaggerating that, am I? Define Dreams is a sound professional. So maybe Define Dreams is some advice and tips with sound design. Who knows? That you can share your wisdom with us from what you've learned along the journey. Because I think it's so important. Like, don't get me wrong, visuals are important, but so is sound. And say they're equal. They're super, super important. But funny enough, we've talked about sound a bit, but now we're going to talk about visual now, which is interesting because what we're working on now is scenes and animations. Now we're ready to carry on. I did say one of the issues we've got is make animation smoother when grabbing acts by way of Carol, and I've got lookups brighter in brackets. So basically, real talk, RPG Maker's extremely limited when it comes to animations. It only allows a few frames of animations, and I do think of hacks. Like, I try to hack around it by getting more animations that I can in than the default allows. But it's still not, I'm still not 100% satisfied. So I wanted to have a bit of a research stream today where I explore ways to be more ambitious in the engine when it comes to animation, because I feel it's the best time to do that, because we're at this point where there's a fix for this current main quest scene, which I'm sure will help with multiple parts of the future scenes as well. It won't just be this. I mean, I know the scene where Duncan smashes Carol. Well, that doesn't happen, don't worry, chat, Carol doesn't die. But when Duncan nearly smashes Carol, he's going to have an animation himself. He's going to grab his axe and he's going to hold it and he's going to prepare to smash the barrel. That's an animation that needs to look cool, right? So that's why I want to spend some time looking at how to do that now, before we've actually really got deep into this whole animation malarkey. In a way, we've already got deep into it. The scene with the fruits, for example, and the scene with the barrels on the cart, which we spent a lot of time really working on last year when we made those quests. I pulled out some really tough stuff to do that wagon hijacking and the fruits coming out of the basket, and it took a lot of time trying to figure out how to master that. So I think even if I don't find a good method, I think there'll be a way to pull things like this off. But I'm still curious of what's out there to make my job a little bit easier. And then we can try implementing these animations into RPG Maker. It's just going to make it more immersive. Like, I don't know why RPG Maker is so limited with animation. Like, by default, really all they can do is stand there. Just cardboard cutouts standing there, you know, just walking, and that's as far as it goes with animation in RPG Maker, really. So it seems. But I want the NPCs to really be lifelike and feel like real people, not just walking cardboard cutouts. And this scene, like, I feel like I need to do another test play yet again. So I'm going to do another test play. This scene here was pretty simple. The custom here creator, we've just got a subtle moonlight glow with a silhouetted person walking. That was easy to do. So the challenge wasn't at this point. It was definitely a challenge to get all the variables working with the layered dynamic custom hero though. Well, that's all done. It was a few weeks of hard work, but I succeeded in the end. But other than that, the scene itself is quite simple animation-wise because we're just standing there. But it's the next scene that it started to get tricky. Like, There's the scene with Carol where you're in Carol, the barrel, and walk out of her, which we're going to see in a sec. It took so much more time than one would think. And I think I'm going to become pro over time, don't get me wrong. As I learn and master this craft, I'll know exactly what to do and how to approach scenes and animations. But at this point in time, I'm still learning the hacks and all the techniques and the ways to go about it. And it's really satisfying, let me tell you that, when you do it and it works. It's like, wow. And that's why I think scenes are my favourite part of the game dev process, because it's the time when you get when you feel really rewarded visually because you're seeing it. As satisfying as it is to write the dialogue and do the world building, that's like tons of fun as well. That's my next favourite bit. It's even more satisfying to see that world you've created and those characters you've created actually come to life. God, that scene transition bugs me. I can't wait to fix that. Okay. But yes, this camera panning was a pain in the butt as well, I'll tell you. I spent about 4 hours just trying to get the pan to be smooth. Because by default, RPG Maker doesn't do that either. It doesn't do camera panning. I had to get this plugin to get it, but now I understand the plugin and I've got the way of doing it. It's fine. And anytime I do camera panning like that in the future, it'll be fine because I sort of get it now. But this here, what was just there, we saw your hero sleeping, crouching in the barrel, open their eyes, walk out. We saw Carol with clothes inside her and throw them at us, and we're reacting to that with a shocked face. All that, it's 5 seconds of the scene. It took so long, but it's well worth it because you've got a really cool scene from it. Even this bit when they grab the axe from the barrel, it's ridiculous, and I'm not even happy with that animation, and that's why I'm looking into the animation stuff today to see if there's any ways to make this better. Because we only have limited frames to work with, but we can get around that by just making a ton of sprite sheets of Carol with all the different frames, but it's really clunky, but if that's how we do it, we have to do it. But that's how we did it with the fruits jumping out the basket. We just made a ton of frames of the fruits jumping out the basket, each of them. And it worked in the end. It works. It's a hack. RPG Maker doesn't let you do that many frames by default, but it's a hack to get more frames out of an animation. But all I want to do today is do a bit of research to see if there's any programs or any methods that others use to get really to make the animation job as easy as possible. We might not have much luck, but I think it's might as well to spend a bit of time trying. Just to see what we get. But if not, even if we're not very lucky, I'll just approach it the current way I'm doing it. It's not the end of the world. Oh my goodness, Swedish Beard, how you doing? Look, it's Mordecai walking across. How are you doing? It's awesome to see you. I hope you've been well. Happy New Year, Beard. How are things going on your end? Been rambling on and didn't even notice you walk in. I hear a faint Professor Eric asking my gender for the difference. Yes, you're obsessed with Pokemon Divine Dreams. It's taking over your life. Okay, so cross that test play off just a sec. So back to this. We'll go on this one instead. Okay, so I put Lookup Sprite because it was a program I found out about that might help with animations, but in all honesty, I don't know if it's going to work. Mainly because we have a layered dynamic hero create now, and I don't know if that dynamic creator will be compatible with what this looks to be. Not for our hero anyway. It might be for the other characters, but it won't be for the hero. I think it's very unlikely. But what this is just a way to make the animations better. Hi, I'm doing pretty well. I've had a rough few weeks, but getting better and better. How are you? I'm so impressed with how far you've come with the game. GG. Thank you, Beard. That was very kind of you to say. And yeah, it feels like slow, like going, because, you know, we still don't have a demo built up yet. But it's just been such an experience, just learning all the tricks, because, you know, it's going from someone who doesn't know anything about game dev to becoming someone who does. It's definitely a challenge in itself. I'm kind of not appreciating myself enough there, because I do have some game dev knowledge, but it was never anything advanced, considering I've never studied it. But yeah, I've learned a lot, and the project has just evolved and progressed a lot as well, in terms of what it used to be and what it is now. But a demo build is on the horizon, and that's really exciting, because we're getting a Steam page as well coming soon as well. It's just going to be a coming soon page for quite a long time, but that'll be fun as well, just seeing a Steam page up there and ready. And yeah, you're doing everything on your own. Let it take. Exactly. Some people seem to forget, and not you guys, or not, you know, all the cool people don't, 'cause you guys understand. But some people seem to forget that, you know, one person making a game is crazy time consuming. Because most games, even indie games, have teams of like several people. A project like this, it's, you know, most of them would have teams of several people at least. But here's me on my own doing it, which makes it like take even longer, of course. I love being a solo dev though. I've had some folk ask in the past, oh, would you ever like expand and have like a proper team? Well, one, no, because I don't have the funding, so it's impossible anyway. But even if I had it, I'd commission for sure. I'd outsource, because there's definitely things I'd want to do that are beyond my skill set. So I'd do that, but I wouldn't actually have a full-on team, because I like that control. I like the control. I like having the say in my creative work and that creative freedom. That's kind of the point of this. It's crazy. Therefore, I'm hugely impressed. I appreciate the kind words, Beard. Thanks so much. And I've become a huge fan of RPs in the past year or year and a half. I started playing D&D with friends. I love creating characters even more now. Oh, that's awesome. Tell us about some of the characters you've made if you'd like. But D&D is a lot of fun. I have a campaign with special stream canon as well, and I'm a noob. I've only ever been in one D&D campaign, but it is fun to like you know, create characters and get inside their heads and things like that. It's just really nerdy and the perfect escapism, especially in these times. That's what I think. I was googling about this on my phone actually while I was getting ready, so let me get the web page up. But for anyone who's just coming in case you're wondering what we're doing today, the goal in this present time for the next few weeks is scene work of Main Quest 1 and 2. Main Quest 1 has 5 scenes and Main Quest 2 has 5 scenes as well, so that's 10 scenes altogether. The first playable build, when it comes out, will have Main Quest 1 and 2 within it. And episode 1, the first game, will have 6 main quests in it altogether. It's looking at our plot skeleton outline, we're looking at 6 main quests for Roots and Rumours. So we got 2 out of the 6 so far, and this year's goal it's main quest year, basically. This is the year of the main quest, getting the base down, and next year is going to be about the features and filling it all out. So when I was talking about a day and night cycle earlier, I'm not trying to get carried away with those things, because that's going to be implemented on top of what we've built when we've done the main quest. But it's very exciting, it's super fun, and Roots and Rumours is only the beginning. There's going to be other games to come, other episodes. I mean, it's episodic, but I see every episode as a full game in itself, you know, because the content within them is definitely going to be full enough to be worthy of a game. Thank you, One Mai. I appreciate the follow. Welcome to the stream. Welcome. Or Myrtle. Myrtle. And I'm playing a halfling rogue right now. He really is well spoken, wealthy, know-it-all, called Osmo Short Shot Philly Do. Oh my god, McGibbles too. That is like the best name ever. That's so quirky. I love it. I have to ask, how did you come up with such a good name? What's your trick for coming up with cool names? You must have one if you've come up with a name like that. Or maybe you're just pro at coming up with names. Maybe that's the answer. I'm not sure which part I like best. Either Philly Duke or McGibbles. I can't decide which part of the name's my favourite. Okay, so I forgot where I was now, actually. Yes, we're working on scenes. Main Quest 1 and Main Quest 2. 10 scenes altogether. So it's time consuming, right? Because each of these scenes take a lot of crafting to get right, and we're at the animation stage now. Yesterday I was working on fog effects and screen tints so we can make the overall visual and colour of the game more immersive and more realistic, and that's what we've got here, which I'm showing off a bit today. These screenshots aren't perfectly cropped at all. They're very, very messy, and paint doesn't even show it all properly when I've zoomed it in. But as you can see, maybe there's different screen tints and a bit of fog there, so I'm experimenting. And now that's out the way. It's not out the way completely. I'll probably continue to experiment with that now and again, but it's at a good point to stop. So now we're on to the animation bit now. So basically, the whole point of this plugin, I've got a summary here of what it does, is to make the flat frame limitations obsolete, because as we know, RPG Maker has frame limitations with animations, which is a pain in the butt. And this just lets you have as many frames as you want, basically. And I really think it's cool, the setup of this plugin. Let me get it up because I'm hiding it. Looks very, very complex. And like I say, I'm not even sure if it's going to be compatible with what we've got. But this is kind of how it works. It's well, it's not showing us yet, but it's a little bit more fluid. But it mainly what I'm interested in, it's not so much the walking cycle of the character, it's this bit here. It's this bit here, all the NPCs like moving and doing things, like this guy chopping up a tree. This one like, you know, dancing a little bit. This one picking up the potions, and this one reading the newspaper. That one doesn't last long enough, it's finishing. Can we loop it? I don't know if we can do that, which is unfortunate because I want to keep it up. And then there's that guy there writing a book. It's like super cool. Like, I'm mega impressed, because RPG Maker can't do this sort of thing really by default. It's just your standard RPG where they're just standing there like a cardboard cutout, as I describe it. But every RPG is like that, right? Every, you know, old school RPGs sort of like that anyway. So I am very intrigued now I've watched this. It's very inspiring. But it's a complex setup, and I think if I was gonna set something like this up, it would be in a future playable build as well as we go through the alphas. Just expect the first demo build to be, you know, fairly basic with what it has to offer, because something like this could take so long to implement that, you know, months will go by before it starts working, and then it will delay our demo release. And it says, I'm good in names. I have lots of creativity, but got inspiration from voice actor called Taliesin Jaff. Have I pronounced that right? I've probably pronounced it wrong. Character where he had a similar name, so I stole the idea but went with an original idea. And also I have a dwarf ranger called Bartian Everborn. I'm going to play it in the near future. That's awesome. I had a feeling you're probably good with names, but I always wonder if there's like tricks people have to come up with good ones. I'm not too bad at coming up with names, but it can take me a while. Pardon me. It can take me I do a lot of research, and I'm indecisive with names. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. It just makes the NPCs far more real than if they're just standing there, right? But this, I'm gonna look into this, but it's gonna be something for the long term, I think. If it works, that's a big question of if it works. But I'm gonna do a bit of Googling and see other alternate techniques people use for becoming a pro at animations in this engine, because I'm sure there's many ways. This is just one. That is probably the most complex one, this one that's here right now. And it wouldn't work with our custom hero, which is why I'm sort of like, but it would work with the other NPCs. It might. I'm not going to assume. My D&D party already hates me, and we've only played one session. This is going to be so much fun to mess with them. Sneaky rogue. Oh, really? Oh, my goodness. It must be interesting playing a baddie or someone who's a little bit more immoral. Because I find I'll admit it, I find it really hard to play as a baddie because I'm so nice. I'd liked though, but I'd feel guilty. I'm too nice. I need to get in the mind of being a baddie though, especially, you know, writing a story full of characters. You need to be able to get into the mind of every type of person if you're going to do a good job. But luckily I have chat to help me too. Chat have been awesome with coming up with sort of character dialogue ideas and for the characters. I'm going to steal all the treasures. I'm going to be good but a bit chaotic. Yeah. Chaotic alignment. I'm still trying to figure out what alignment I am like in real life, because I'm definitely not lawful, I'll tell you that now. But I'm not chaotic either, far from chaotic. But I'm just too much of a anti-establishment person to be lawful. So I'm kind of like, am I neutral then? That's what I'm wondering. I suppose I do go with the moment and what seems right in the situation, I feel. I'm not like sort of influenced by anything. So maybe I am neutral. That's why we are around, to come up with the exactly van, because, you know, I always wonder how writers do it, like how someone can be so talented to have such a diverse cast in their stories, in their games, in their books, in their shows, because you know, like someone like George R.R. Martin, for example, there's so many characters in Game of Thrones. How on earth can you get inside every single one of their heads when they're all so different? I think it's a talent you can master throughout your whole life, if you ask me. And I think this is why Raindrop Chronicles is brilliant as a community-driven project, because it really just makes that side of things more possible. Not every character's got my tone of voice or my sort of way of writing. Gonna be neutral, chaotic, but not be evil in my mindset. Yeah, evil's a hard one. I struggle to like evil characters. Like, I'm talking real monsters here that have no compassion for anyone other themselves. I find it hard to like characters like that. And it's very rare that a story can make me like an evil character. That's why I have to credit Shadowbringers Final Fantasy 14, because I think that's the only game that makes me like evil characters. It does. Wow, this plugin definitely seems pretty technical. RPG Maker MV, so I'll put in animation, fluid animations. We'll see what comes up. We'll go on a little journey today to find out how to hack the animations in this engine. Wahaha. So we'll try this first. Yeah, Sprite comes up a lot. That's why I thought, oh, let's research Sprite then. So if you're curious at how the animations are at the moment, let's just open Photoshop to give you a little peek. This is the fog effect I was working on, by the way. So I just put the lakefall image at the tree in the background so I could see the fog against it. It's a free copyright CC Creative Commons fog thing that I found online. And I just sort of put in a little pink, a dusky pink sort of colour scheme on it. So I think that looked really nice and gives the impression of it being more of a morning sort of foggy colour scheme. If it was sunset, it'd be a bit more orange maybe. Oh yeah, I've got to experiment with sunset colour tints. That's another thing, but I'll do that another time because it's only morning in the game so far. Okay, so here's Carol the Barrel. So in the opening scene, she either has brown clothes or green clothes inside her, depending on what your class is. There is the chance of adding a third class, as we spoke about a few weeks ago, but that's going to be a future playable, folks. The third class. I don't want to like put too much on myself too soon, and adding the third class now, because it's going to just delay us for the playable build we're releasing. So we're looking at a later time to implement that. But so far it's just the two, and I've sort of just coded it so that it only calls this section and this section if you're a hunter, and that one if you're a warrior. But yeah, it's pretty limited, like with what it allows. Like this is basically a sprite sheet, and there's 4 animations allowed, and you can get by that and hack it by just making multiple sprite sheets and bazillions of sprite sheets to make as many as you want. But that is hard work for sure and time consuming. But that's the way we go about it at the moment. And this is the axe and the bow and arrow in, and at the moment the animation's okay, but there's a frame or two that's a little bit jarring or wonky with it, which I'm trying to fix. So it might just take a little bit of tidying up the animations. And if necessary, I can always add another few frames to just make it more fluid. And I just have to make an extra sprite sheet for that, if that's the case. Or we can just add them to these sections, because we still have a few more tiles here to work with. Okay, so we'll have a look and see, because I could easily just do that now and carry on with how we've been doing it, but I want to 100% make sure that there's no other methods that will make my life easier in the long run. No worries, I love writing for evil. Yeah, Van has the evil inside them. And I've always been good with chaotic characters. Yeah, I must admit it must be fun. I need to just get over feeling like guilty, because I know there's a scene, for example, in Raindrop Chronicles where you push a girl in a lake, and I remember when that got suggested by the community, because the community suggested it, not me. And at the time I was like, no way, we can't push that girl in the lake, that's horrible. But then I was like, yeah, let's do it, because you gotta have the chaotic. Like, this isn't, Raindrop Chronicles is an RPG that has a moldable protagonist. You as the player can shape your hero in different ways. They're not just they're not a predefined character like in Final Fantasy games, for example. You have the option to take them a certain path in regards to morality. So because of that, we gotta have a few evil options, otherwise it's not gonna be convincing. And it was that push in the lake option was when we decided, yeah, we're gonna have an evil hero option in this game, because it wasn't really on the cards until that got suggested, but it was just so juicy and evil and mischievous that, you know, we was like, yeah, we're gonna have a moral system now. Hi Matt, how are you doing? It's so good to see you. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what other like chaotic actions we can make our evil hero do in regards to other NPCs in the game. Because pushing Fiona in the lake is just one of many things that we're gonna do. Just one of many shenanigans that our character's gonna get up to. I was thinking, what could we do to Nigel? Oh yeah, we said we would lock Fiona in the inn to stop her from exploring, didn't we? That was one. Or even kill Fiona so that Nigel can't cope. Yeah, we had those couple of ideas. Okay, so I've got a few tabs open. We're gonna have a read. We're doing some little bit of research. Anyone who's coming in, lurking into animation in RPG Maker, because anybody that knows RPG Maker might know that it is a little bit on the limited side when it comes to animation possibilities. And I've always hacked it since day one. I've tried to like hack it in whatever way I can to get more frames out of animations, but I'm curious at what's out there. Any tools or methods that other people use, because all I know is my method is crazy time consuming and very hard work. So anything that makes it easier, right? So this topic is 8 directional movement. Now, we don't have 8 directional movement currently, and I don't know if that's really on the cards, at least not right now. It's mainly just fluid, smooth animation I'm interested in at the moment, and no one's even replied to this one anyway. That's a shame. Hi everyone, I'm not sure if I'm the only one who finds the default animations in RPG Maker to be sort of choppy. Yes. This is why I loved looking at Spriter, because it's just really smooth. This was really cool. It just seeing the characters do things, and things like this is very, like, in other game engines, I don't think this is too hard to pull off because they don't have the frame limitations. But in RPG Maker, stuff like this is advanced. This is like next level stuff for RPG Maker folks. But I'm always trying to push it with RPG Maker. And like I say, one of the more ambitious titles for RPG Maker, that Raindrop Chronicles, will be with the rate I'm going, if I manage to successfully, you know, not hit any bumps in the road, which we're not quite yet. Custom hero creators worked, but we'll see. There's still a big journey. But you know what I mean, I'm stubborn. Like with that custom hero creator, that loud custom hero creator, it took me ages to get that fixed, but I was determined. At one point it was being a butt face, and I could have easily have thought, we'll just leave this and go back to the old way, but I didn't. I was like, no, we're doing this. So, hi Autumn, how are you doing? Really cool that you're so positive and chatty about development. I've only watched a few times, but it's really great. Thank you so much for the kind words. That's really encouraging, and I appreciate that. Welcome to the stream, Autumn. I hope you're having a good day. Yeah, I feel like you've got to be, and it's hard to be because we're all human beings, and it's easy to get overwhelmed and frustrated, especially like, you know, with such a huge, humongous project that is a challenge for one person to do. But you gotta sort of have, if you want to see it to completion, you've got to have a positive attitude, because otherwise, if you don't, you'll just give up, or just stop doing it and neglect it, and then you won't achieve your dreams. So as hard as it is, and it's definitely can be a challenge, as hard as it is, you gotta push through. And don't get me wrong, you know, you gotta be aware of when you need to hold back and take time out, because burnout is real, and things like that's horrible. You gotta take care of yourself as well. So when you feel it getting to you, kind of have to hold back. But I think the way I approach things, or try to at least, it's been pretty good so far. I'm really proud that in 2020 we consistently streamed the whole year. There was only 1 month in 2020 that I didn't stream, and that was because I was doing the website. Back in February, we launched the website, and I had that whole entire month off stream to get that website up and running. And that was the only time I didn't consistently stream. So, yeah. I can say that, like, mentally I'm doing really good, and I'm not like, I don't really often feel disheartened or fed up. So I'm doing something right. I think having passion and just pure love for creating can go a long way. Oh, interesting. Oh, what's interesting, Met? The animation thing. Yeah, it's so cool. In fact, folks, if anyone here's a game dev or RPG maker, because I know we have a few of you in this stream, I recommend looking into this Spriter. I mean, I'm not sure about it for our project, only because it might be incompatible with our custom hero plugin that we have. The way that our custom hero is set up, with it being dynamic and layered now, is probably going to clash with the setup of this. But at minimum, we could use this for NPCs. But I'm still not 100% sure whether it would work even for NPCs, because there's a lot of setup to this. Looking at this and reading through, it would take a bit of time to get this set up. It's pretty next level stuff. And I think it'd be well worth it for anyone that does implement, because it just will make your game better. Make it, like, give it an edge. But it does look quite complex. But I'm keeping it tabbed open, and I'm keeping my eye on it, because I want to explore it as a possibility for the NPCs. I particularly like this part. Seeing them all do their little actions. They're not static, they're moving, they're on a sort of loop, aren't they? This guy cutting the tree and she dancing. So it's like, you know, it's a simple and looping animation, but it just seems very fluid, and I'm not sure if something like this would be easy to pull off by default in the engine. So it's nice to know that someone out there has made something that could let people do that. But I'm looking for other things as well. I've got a ton of tabs open here because I want to see different techniques people use to approach something like this, and now's a really good time to do this because we're working on scenes and animations right now in the game. And I was talking earlier about how time consuming the whole Carol the Barrel sequence was with the hero in the opening scene. Which I think it's always going to be time consuming. Something like involving animation will always be one of the most time consuming parts of development, but I'm looking at ways to just make the workflow easier, really. And now's the best time, considering we're really in deep with the animations right now. We're about to animate a sequence where this guy here almost mashes Carol the Barrel but doesn't get to just in time, and that's simple enough. All he has to do is grab an axe and look like, you know, lift it and look like he's about to smash it. But even something as simple as that is, you know, it's still more complex than one would think. And we don't even have any character bodies with lifted arms or anything like that. RPG Maker by default is very simple, it just has walking sprites really, but there's plenty of assets around, and I am going to do a little bit of an explore to see what we've got of different poses and things like that. And I could imagine all we'd need to do is get Duncan, put that pose behind him on another layer, and just delete these arms here and just recolor the template sprite so it matches Duncan. So I think it wouldn't be too bad, but it's just making all the frames and things like that. And RPG Maker by default, yeah, it's pretty limited. So it's basically things to make workflow smoother and quicker that we're looking into. But this is really cool, so I'm going to keep my eye on that. And let me catch up with chat because I've been really on a ramble and I've been not answering, so let me see what you're saying. And Autumn says, us solo devs, we've got to keep encouraging each other. That sense of overwhelming challenges really resonates with me too. Yeah, and it looks skeletal based to me. It reminds me of Spine. Yeah, it's really cool, and I think that must be what it is. Like, I think, yeah, skeletal. Yeah, it says so here because there's something about this little short video here that just looks so fluid that makes me think that can't be done by default, which it's pretty clear here. Where are we? This is it. This is an animation example, and it does look, for sure, this is definitely advanced animation stuff. So it's pretty impressive they've made it work with RPG Maker, I have to say. And I don't want to get my heart set on it because I know for a fact it's not going to be compatible with our custom hero, and there's still a question mark whether it'll be compatible at all because it's complex and there might be incompatibility issues. But I'd rather try and say with my own eyes what is possible and what isn't. But yes, I'm going to be looking at many methods to see what we can do to get smooth, fluid animations and an easier workflow. And let's see what Met said. Since a custom hero maker works, would it make sense to also use the composite for making NPCs, if that makes it easier to make a bunch of similar characters. The way that the plugin is coded for the custom hero, it only really, it's quite advanced stuff, and I don't think I'd want to risk making multiple composites of characters because it all updates dynamically, and I don't want to kind of push it too far, you know, and have too many, because it could slow the game down and become a problem. And there is some sacrifices I had to make with that composite layered thing as well, like saving had to change. The whole approach to saving needs to change. We can't have multiple saves at a time anymore. It's a single save file system now, and we're going to sort of approach multiple future playthroughs with the new game plus mechanic, which works great, because that, to me, that stops people abusing the choices matter system anyway. And Undertale did something to that degree, and it worked. It gave more weight to the choices in the game. So I'm all for that game design approach myself. It's actually worked out quite well. But because of those sacrifice and limitations, I think it would be awkward to do it with. I don't think there's any need anyway to do it with the others. But because the way this is all done with certain folders, with all the parts split up by the look of it, because there's a section here showing how it's all set up. I think the traditional way of doing sprite sheets with NPCs will maybe allow us to use this for the NPCs. It wouldn't be possible with the custom hero, but it could be possible with the traditional NPCs that aren't layered in this. I'm still not like 100% sure, because we don't know until we test, but it could be. Which would allow us to get something like, not this, something like this. Where is it hiding? For the NPCs, which really is what matters, because these guys that you see here are NPCs. So if we could have something as cool as that for our NPCs, I'd feel very, very happy. It's not even really necessary for the hero. I mean, the smooth walk cycle here is the hero, the protagonist, but this is why I'm looking for other methods here for that. So, I mean, I don't think the walk cycle's too bad, in all honesty, with the characters. It's mainly the detailed, ambitious animations that I feel it's more obvious with than just the walk cycle. After looking into it, but inferior skeleton animation system should itself offer a similar kind of, maybe something like a skeleton animation is what makes it possible to have layered characters in the beginning, and perhaps that's why RPG Maker doesn't have layered characters by default, because it isn't a skeletal system. Who knows? But I still, the code behind that plugin is pretty complex from what I've looked at in the JavaScript file. So I think there'd be more to it. Like, for example, I don't think people who've got this plugin would be able to have dynamic characters without something additional code on top of it. So yeah, it's definitely interesting when you come across things like this and then realise there's going to be incompatibilities with what you've got. But I know I'm deeply attached to our layered character system. I think it's fabulous, and it's going to allow so much more than what we could have before. Hi Asriel, did I say hi? I can't remember if I did or not. I can't remember, and I feel bad because how would I not say hi to Asriel? And I forget who I said hi to. But yeah, we can have different weapons, different armors now, different clothing. The hero's just more interesting and less wooden and the same now. because we couldn't really do much with our custom hero before. There just had to be a cardboard cutout with the same clothes on forever, same blank facial expression, because there was just far too many static assets to animate. And he was like, we gotta just keep them like this. But now it's dynamic. It's just so cool, because where is it? Where's our hero? Where they're hiding? Here. Because it's dynamic, it's all layered now. So the eyes are all on their own sprite sheet, right? So all the heads are all on, well, everything's all on their own sprite sheet, rather than all on one and flat. So all the combinations that are created are really cool. Now we can have the beardy ladies, and we can have bald heroes, and we can have bald heroes with beards, and we didn't have that before because there was just too many assets. I'm fine, just lurking away anyway. Oh, I hope work's treating you well, Asriel, and being nice to you today. Today we're just rambling on about animation things, because that's the next step, really. The next step is getting all the scenes churned out for main quest 1 and 2. We're right in the middle of it right now, doing lots of work, making it all come to life. I'm really looking forward to having more screenshot Saturdays, because we'll have more content. But because we're right in the middle of this scene making, I'm realising that the animation in RPG Maker could be better, and I'm looking for better workflows and techniques and hacks to get the animation super cool and easier for me as well. So I'm all about just making things as good as they can be. That's why I spent extra time on getting all these fogs and things in, and making the immersion better as well. Okay, so yeah, this was what I was reading. It's always bothered me, and recently I became across Spriter. It's a 2D skeletal animation software. Using this, we can easily create smoother animations. Well, there are other pros like Spine, which is what Autumn mentioned, funnily enough, Dragonbones, but personally I find Sprite to be very easy to use. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to make smoother, longer and more complicated animations using Spriter. I'm fairly new to it, and I might be wrong in some cases, but I'm hoping this will come to be useful to someone. But yes, I mean, Met might have a point when if we're on the same wavelength here, that a custom hero creator could be much easier for someone to make with this, but I think it would need to be programmed specifically. And you know, if I was rich and was a game dev person with a ton of funding behind me, I would totally outsource a coder to put together a proper made custom hero dynamic plugin for the game that works with the sprite method too. But yeah, something like that would literally cost thousands of pounds, probably more, probably tens of thousands. You know, stuff like that isn't easy to code, right? It's expensive as well. So you kind of have to just have to do it yourself as much as you possibly can, and just make it the best you can and as bug free as possible and workable. So that's kind of how I'm seeing it. I'm just seeing what's out there, seeing what works, what's compatible, what makes the game good, what makes it work, what doesn't make it break, but what makes, you know, it fun to play and more interesting as well. I know I've fallen in love with the game more since we've had a custom hero creator, because it just made it more fun. I started feeling very daunted by all the not thousands, hundreds of static hero assets we had originally in the old days. I was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to make a reptile costume when we disguise ourselves as reptiles for every single one of these heroes? But now it's like easy peasy. We just make one reptile costume and overlay it over the same character. It's so relieving knowing that we have that method now. But yeah, the animations is the next step, right? So let's see what this person's talking about, because I haven't even finished it. Okay, this is about Spriter, it seems. It's just a tutorial, but this is how Spriter works. I have all the head, the legs and everything on separate files. That's how they're able to make such fluid animations. And the only way I can see us being able to do it, if we don't do it this way, is literally do a bazillion sprite sheets in Photoshop. Well, not a bazillion, I'm exaggerating, but we'd have to, you see what we got with Carol here, we'd have to like just make as many different sprite sheets as we could of Carol and manually, frame by frame, enter it into the engine and form a fluid animation out of that as best as we possibly can. So at the moment, you see, we've got like only 4 sprites for when Carol chucks the clothes out of the barrel, which, because it's such a fast animation and it is over in less than 1/10 of a second, it doesn't matter that that's only 4 frames long, because you don't really notice because it's over with before it even begins virtually. But for something else, something that's a more complex and detailed animation, we might need to like lengthen it out past 4 frames. And that's what I'm thinking with this one here, where we get the weapon out the barrel. I don't think 4 frames is quite enough for an animation for that little sequence. It looks a little bit choppy, as that person described, and I mean, when it's non-skeletal, it always has a risk of being choppy, I suppose. But we can maybe do our best to disguise the choppiness as much as possible by lengthening the amount of frames that we have. So that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. It's the longer way. It's a very hacky approach, and it's a very time-consuming approach, but it's not too complex either, really. This Spriter thing looks like next level complexity, and it might be worth the weeks it takes to implement it, but I'm not going to prioritise it for this present time because it'll distract us from what we're doing. Like, unlike the immersion stuff I was doing yesterday, that only took where is it? All this, doing different colour tints and fogs, it took just a day's work of experimenting. But Spriter could potentially take weeks. So it doesn't, for this, I got sidetracked with this, but it was okay because it was just a few hours, several hours of work. And but the Spriter thing, yeah. So I'm going to keep it on my radar. And remember that it exists. Now, at a point in time when the time's right, I might try it out and experiment with it on our NPCs. Once we've populated like 4, that might be a good time to do it. Because we're still pretty sparse on the NPCs right now. But maybe for the second playable build, when we do Main Quest 3 content, because naturally we'll be populating Lakefall at that point in time, it might be a good time to do that then. But for now, I still need to think now how we're going to approach scenes. Other than the hacky method I mentioned just. Let's see what people are saying now. I'm very intrigued what people are saying about animations and if there's any other hacks and techniques. Another port to add ways to make your games more visually appealing. Character animations. I've got a few of Gal's plugins. Shows a different character animation for the pirate and the players I will run jumping. I'm trying to figure out what this script even is. Yeah, I think it's just more variety in the poses, I think, which is very useful. Let's have a look. I'll keep that one tabbed as well because that could always help as well if we go for the non-spriter method. Is it possible using this plugin to make a carrying sprite for if the hero or character is carrying an object or anything they can lift? If you change the actor to catch you on the side or something, I suppose so, yeah. Yeah, something like that's easier to do in Spriter because that was on the video example. And it's definitely tougher to do it without it, but with a lot of work and hacks, yeah, maybe. I'm really sure this is not the right section. Which question and we move this to the proper sections, please. How do you make smooth animations? It's for the title screen of the game. Can't see. I think that's disabled. I think adding more up front. Yeah. So that's really it. Smooth animations is just more frames, and RPG Maker by default only allow 4 or 3. I don't know, but all I know is that the sprite sheet space is very limited. You just get this to work with. So yeah, it just looks like tons of sprite sheets is the way to go. Which isn't too bad, because once you've done the animation, you've done it right, and it's that sprite sheet is forever there for whenever there's a time in the scene when a character does that. So for example, with Duncan, when we animate him lifting the axe and about to smash Carol, we'll need a body pose where he's got a lifted arm. But once we've got that body pose, it might take a few hours of work or less. We don't know until we try. We'll try soon. We'll do it this stream actually. Once it's done, and we can use that raised arm animation for all the other characters as well. We just gotta obviously layer it up in Photoshop with the correct character. We'll see. Who knows? Because when I start using Spriter, if it turns out it works and is really cool for the NPCs in Lightfall, once we start using it for the second playable build, I might go back to main quest 1 and 2 and redo all the scene animations if I find it's really good. But for now, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm so tempted to just download it and do it, but I know it's going to hold us back a long time potentially. And I'm very, very keen on getting the scenes almost done at the start of next month. So the dilemma. We'll see how we get on. We'll experiment with this default way of making Duncan, get his axe up. We'll see how hard it is and how smooth it looks. and if I'm satisfied, for at least for the first playable build, we'll go with it. But if I'm like, oh god, this is bad, then I'm gonna just use Sprite and see what we can come up with. So we'll just see where the experimentation takes us. And Van says, test it out, see if you like it. Yeah, I've looked at the documentation, and the setup work is pretty time consuming. It's definitely a lot of work to get it done, which is why I'm like avoiding it for now. Wife says we'll do it when we populate like with NPCs. Even if we do it then, which is the second playable build, and we decide to go back on ourselves and reanimate the NPCs, it wouldn't be too much work because we wouldn't have had many characters really at that point in time. It's not like we've got like a whole game of a whole village to animate. We'll just do Nigel, Fiona, Violet, and all the characters we've got in so far, which is just a handful of characters. And Autumn said, sprite animation scares me in case I'd need to change the design of a character or anything like that. That's very true as well, because you kind of once you've done it, it's there and you're stuck with it then, aren't you? You're stuck with those assets. It's kind of like the position we were in when we switched from short sprites to tall sprites, because we did that at the end of last year. We used to have the default chibis, and obviously I wanted our game to be a bit more distinct from every other RPG Maker game, and I wanted to fit more in theme wise with the tone of the game we're creating. So we made that switch to tall sprites, but it meant we had to change all the assets. But luckily, although it was a week or two of asset work, it wasn't too bad, because all we had was walking cycles at that point in time for each of the characters. Just the standard up, down, left, right, stepping walking cycles. So it wasn't too bad at all. But just imagine the work that would have had to have gone into it if we had all these animations, and then we had to do all this. Like, imagine we have Duncan with in his arms in lots of different poses, right? And then we realise that Duncan has to look completely different now. We'd be like and we never know how it's going to evolve. Like, the sprites look like this at this point in time, and they're great. Chances are we'll keep these ones since we've made the switch. We like them. We don't know if we'll change now, but you never know for sure, do you? And you might decide actually the sprites are going to add this instead added to them, and then you got to do it all. So it's a very, very good point, that is. And then there's a lot of asset work to redo. So that's definitely one benefit of moving to Sprite as early as possible. I guess at the absolute latest, I'd want to implement it for the second playable build, as I said earlier. It feels like the perfect time to do it once we're working on populating Lightfall with NPCs, which is the plan, while we write the third main quest, because it just so happens the third main quest is all about being in the village and talking to the NPCs, and it's the downtime quest. So naturally it's going to kind of work that with the timing of it to do it then, probably. And it wouldn't make me cry too much if I was going to redo all of it for Duncan and Nigel and Fiona, because the scene work we'd have done by playable build 2 time wouldn't be too overwhelming. It would take a bit of work, but it's not like a whole game's worth of animations. So yeah, I wouldn't be too devastated if I was like just redoing their sprites. Yes. I'm definitely very curious about Sprite, and I think I'm going to have a play around with it though, and see how it all goes. But if it's all like if there's a lot of work involved, then I might think, yeah, we'll move it to to the summer when we work on main quest 3 and the beginning of main quest 4. But I'll keep you guys updated. I mean, we could look at it now in the stream, but I'm thinking it's pretty intense stuff, like a lot of technical work and focus required into setting it up, so I might save that for off stream, and some point between now and the weekend I might have a look at it, and I'll let you know when I'm planning on implement it, or even if it works and is compatible with what we're doing. But for now, I'm going to spend the rest of the stream experimenting with things the old way, the standard default way, and see if we can like put together an okay-ish and like pose of Duncan holding the axe. It's the very end. This axe part is like literally the very last part of this scene, and it's probably the only complex animation we've got left, because the rest, this is where we are. We've got to this point now, and although I still want to smooth over this axe animation, which is here, it's not too bad. Just like an hour or so of smoothing it, we might fix that. And this bit's easy, it's just dialogue. This bit's just dialogue. That's all done. That's not hard at all. That's not too hard. This is the complex part of the scene, where he grabs the axe, prepares to smash the barrel, and then someone yells "Nam," and then he's interrupted and walks off. And grabbing the clothes from the ground isn't going to be too hard either. So once that's done, we're ready and free to move on to the rest of the scenes, which I'm excited to do. I've been excited, and I've been like, we're doing it tomorrow, we're doing it next stream, and then we never have. We've still been on this scene, because scene work's always more time consuming than expected. Hi Leo, how you doing? Is this a Mad Father sequel? What even is Mad Father? I'm so uncultured. Tell me what it is. Wow, I'm hungry. I'm looking forward to pigging out tonight, everybody, after my dinner. I have chocolate. So good. I'm gonna be devastated when my Christmas sack runs out of snacks. It's an RPG Maker game. Oh, is it? Awesome. I definitely am uncultured then. I should be knowing. I should be being aware of all these games. Problem is with me, because I'm so like engrossed in game development, because it takes up so much time. I don't get time to play games. Like, I don't get time to like really consume media as much as I want to, because this wouldn't get done. But it's definitely what I know. I think when things settle down and I get into a good workflow, I'd like to dedicate at least one day of the week to media, to either watching a film or playing a game, because I think it's really good to, as a creative, as a storyteller, you need to kind of be inspired. So yeah, RPG Maker games though, it's you know, one of my favourite games of all time is an RPG Maker game, funnily enough. I'd put it in my top 5. No one here would have ever heard of it though, because it was on the old RPG Maker 2000. It was on one of the very earlier engines, but it's next level stuff when it comes to storytelling, in my opinion. It's got a very, very tiny cult fan base of people theorising on the forum, like talking about all the deep stuff and thinking of theories of characters and that sort of thing is always like super exciting. Okay, so what else is here? Yeah, we'll cross. I don't think there's anything else other in this thread that might help. That's VX Ace. I know what it is, Rex says. Yeah, I forced Rex to play it. I forced him. I held him at gunpoint. But luckily he loved it, so it was all worth it. Just proves I have good taste. Have you played To the Moon? Arguably one of the more famous games. I have indeed. I played To the Moon 2013, several years ago. It's a lovely game. Really well made. It's a short one. I played through it in a single night, but it's a really good one, and definitely an inspiration for people who make games and RPG make, to see where you can take them potentially, because that game definitely did justice to the engine. It was very successful, and you can see why, because it's beautiful. Story is beautiful, and visually it's beautiful too. And you can tell a lot of love and detail and effort went into the making of that game. But yes, I could go on and on about my favourite games. And yeah, your game doesn't have to be the most gorgeous ever. Like the game I was talking about, that's my favourite RPG Maker game. There was a lot of ripped assets actually that were used, but that didn't take away from how amazing it was. The game wasn't sold commercially because there was a lot of ripped assets from other games like Final Fantasy VI and stuff. So of course they couldn't sell it commercially because they'd have got sued. And there was some original assets that they used and some borrowed assets, but it was just a genius. It was a genius piece of storytelling. This is it. There's still people on the message board to this day. There's people posting in 2020. This game was made nearly 20 years ago, but about 17, 18 years ago. RPG Maker 2000. It's not well known at all. Like a small amount of people experience this game, and yet people are still posting on this in 2020. It's amazing. I think that just goes to show how special it is. I was very young when I played this. I was blown away. But it's the biggest inspiration for me with episodic RPGs. This game is. Because it was made in RPG Maker as well. I think really what's the biggest inspiration for me is the way they approach storytelling, the characterization, and the pacing. It was just like, I'm convinced that the writer of this game is some kind of storytelling god. In all honesty, I'm really praising it to the highest level, but I'm not the only one that does. Like, if you go on any article, anybody else, everyone else does too. Once in a while in your life, you come across a piece of writing so profound, so arresting, so moving that it forever leaves an impression on your soul, affecting you in ways never quite leaving your deep memory. This blog post is not one of those pieces of writing. but it's a piece of writing that has affected me in this way, of which you've probably never heard. Actually, it's about a video game. So this whole blog post is basically of somebody literally gushing and praising this game as like the best thing in the world, to be quite blunt. Like, it's pretty clear that they're like amazed by it. So yeah, I'm really like praising it, but it does deserve it. I can't really think of anything else that I've played that I would rave about this much. Like Lost Odyssey is another one I rave about, and that's mainly because it's a JRPG, Lost Odyssey, that was made by Sakaguchi. I've even said his name right. You know, the creator of the older Final Fantasy games that nobody's ever played because it was only on one platform, the 360. So I do rave about that game a lot because it's underseen, really. It's underseen, and it's easily as good as the golden era of Final Fantasy games, easily. But it didn't get the commercial success or the visibility of the Final Fantasy games because it was only on Xbox 360 and so many people missed out, and it was never ported to Steam or anything else, which is really sad. Heading off, have fun, take care, Autumn. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Hope you have an awesome day. I was scrolling through my news feed yesterday, and so one of my friends posted like a photo of Lost Odyssey, and I nearly had a heart attack because I never see that game ever. No one ever plays it. So whenever I see it, whenever my eyes land on that game, I'm gonna just go insane because it needs to be played. Okay. I crossed off, didn't I, the animation thing. I'm gonna look in that off stream. How is it already 6 o'clock? No way. Okay, so let's do a little bit of RPG Maker and the poses. Let's see what we get here. Okay, the problem is this is the short sprites. So I don't think we can use these ones because their arms are too short. We need to make sure that whatever pose we have is of the same base as the body we've got, which I'm pretty sure is somewhere. Whoa. There was something really dodgy there. There was like hentai on the screen. RPG Maker hentai? People are weird. Gosh, get it? Go away, you'll ban me from Twitch. Tall sprite poses. But yeah, I'll keep you updated, folks. Next stream's Friday. I keep thinking it's Friday today, but no, we've still got another stream this week. I'm gonna give it a download and I'm gonna have a little look at it, but I'm gonna try not get too consumed and only do this the whole of the week, the rest of the week. We'll say, because I know that this could help massively. so I am inclined to look now. But I'm torn at the moment between experimenting with Spriter and doing things the default traditional way with animations, but using hacks to get more frames out. True, Baldy! Oh my goodness, thank you so much for the 13 months. Lucky 13. I say. Thank you so much. Let's get some hype in chat. Let's get hype in chat, everybody. The lucky, yeah, 13's a lucky number. It's underrated. It's never brought me any bad luck anyway. How are you? I'm doing good, True Baldy. I'm very hungry, but my dinner's soon. And how are you? How have you been? How has your new year been treating you so far? Okay, so I'm pretty sure that the base we've got is somewhere. There's a few different poses of the base we've got somewhere. There's a few different tall sprites, but none of them are the same as the ones we've got. That's the one we've got, I believe. They're just walking sprites. But if it turns out there's not a base we want, then I'm going to do it myself. And let's have a little play around before we end the stream today. And in fact, let's just get a history layer done just in case we screw up and make a mistake, and we'll save it as well. So we'll just take his clothes off. I'll need a reference for doing something like this, because I'm no artist, I'm no professional artist. This is me just trying my best to do something. It helps that I've got like graphic design sort of background now, but you know, when it comes to graphic design, art isn't my fault. Like actual art isn't my forte, so it's always a bit challenging. Although I do dabble in pixel art, it tends to be minimal. Like these cute little bats, the bats that True Baldy's got because they're a sub. I made them. So yeah, I can do it, but this stuff is minimal pixel art. So when it comes to character design, it's definitely what do you call it? Out of my comfort zone. But we can always try. But I'm figuring what we could do is we could always look at how they've done it for small sprites, and sort of replicate that and just use that as a reference image to guide us with the shape it should be. I'm going to have another little scour of the internet now and see if I can find animated versions of the template we've got. But it's well worth the time and effort, in my opinion, to put these kind of assets together, even if it takes a few hours to do a pose. Because I honestly think that is such a key thing. Like I was praising sound design earlier in games, saying how sound is such an important thing for immersion. But so is animation. So is make the characters looking fluid and smooth, because nothing is more jarring than a stilted wooden character. Having them be fluid is even when the simple pixel art, right? It can go a long way. So I think it's well worth the time and effort doing that. If I was rich and had funding behind me, this would be something I'd get commissioned by a professional. I'd ask them to design a range of base poses for me, and even the characters themselves. You know, I don't think the characters themselves would need doing, only the bases would need doing. Because once we have that base pose, we can just make it be Duncan. We can just do his skin complexion and add his clothing and face on top. It's really just about having the base shape of the body. The clothing does have to be shaped around it though, but with Duncan's clothing, he's only wearing a vest, so he doesn't have any arm clothing that's going to change shape. So, but in regards to clothing that does have sleeves, that would need doing as well. But it's a very time-consuming part of the development, the art is, which is ultimately why I don't do it all. Because it would add another 10 years onto the development, you know. It's a 10-year project as it is, potentially longer. I feel like the 10-year time lifespan isn't going to begin until episode 1's out. Once that foundation is down, then begins the 10 years. 2 years per episode, maybe, if we're having a 6-episode saga. But yeah, if it's all custom art designed by me, you're saying, you know, double the time, because it's that time consuming. But we'll see how it goes. I think this because it's so story driven and we're having certain actions happen in the game right now, something like this would have to be rewritten if we wasn't going to do that animation. And why would we want to rewrite? It's cool. We want to see Carol nearly get smashed by someone holding an axe. So we are not going to sacrifice that exciting storytelling and not include it. It's worth the extra time and effort, and this is ultimately why making the scenes and the animations within those scenes will be the most time-consuming part of the development. So yes, but we'll see how it goes. Oh my gosh, I'm hungry. Okay, so I have in my favourites a range of poses, but they're the small sprites. But I want to use those small sprites as a reference. To help me do it for this one. There's only a walking cycle here. I do really love this base though. It was the best tall sprite base I could find, but it's unfortunate it doesn't seem like there's any poses with it. But 100% this would be something I'd get outsourced if I had the option, but because I don't, I'm doing it myself. So it will obviously add time onto the development. But we'll see how it goes. All I know is that main quest 3 is probably slightly less ambitious with the poses. I don't think we'll have anyone holding up anything. But even if we did, once it's done, it's done. Once that arm holding base pose is done, it's done, and we can use that for the other characters too. So that's good. So yeah, either I'll be looking into Spriter or making one of these for Duncan. I haven't decided yet which one I'm gonna focus on, because I'm kind of torn between doing it the traditional way or doing it the Spriter way. I'm going to set myself a task then. I'm going to spend, after my dinner, I don't usually get back to my computer until about 9 o'clock on average. I'm going to spend until midnight looking at Spriter. And I think that 3 hours will be enough for me to decide whether this is something to implement now or later or never. And I'll get a sort of gist of how the thing works. It won't hurt to spend a night on it. But let's look at the traditional short sprite poses we've got for now and see if there's any reference to follow. We're looking for arms in the air. This one has arms in the air. I find doing face stuff probably easier than body stuff. When arms get involved, that's when it can be a little bit daunting, because arms are funny things. The shape of them are so weird, and it's got to look good as well and fluid when they move. But there's plenty of stuff here to guide me, but the arms that we're using are on the bigger side. They're bigger than the default ones. But we could do something where we just get the small arm and go for that same shape or something. Okay. But these things are going well, and main quest scene 1, although we've been on it longer than we wanted to, we are coming towards the end of it now. It's only really Duncan's axe sting that really is going to take the time. So on Friday, I'm not exactly sure what we'll be working on. I'm not going to say expect specific things each stream, because sometimes we don't know what we're going to do next. But of course it'll be something related to the scene work and animation, but what it will be exactly we'll say when Friday comes. Hi Rav, damn, always get here at the end of your stream lately. Yes, I mean, usually I wouldn't even still be online, but because I've been starting much later recently, because I'm silly like that, I'm always late. I'm trying to stretch out the streams as long as I can and make the most of them, so I can say I've been streaming for at least 3 hours. I don't like to stream under the 3 hours. So yeah, you're lucky to have caught me. Work's just been super busy on my end. Well, thanks for stopping by anyway, and I hope work gets better and eases up a bit. I've just been thinking about animation today. We talked about immersion techniques earlier on in the stream, how to make the game a bit more immersive, and it's sort of blended into making the animations a bit more like real as well, and smooth and not clunky. So we're sort of thinking of how to really make the most of animations in regards to fluidness of them, like arm movements and the frames, and making more frames in RPG Maker, like hacking the engine so we can get more out the default number of frames that we limited with, and other plugins that might help, all that kind of thing. So it's kind of experimenting with that, and then once we know, we can progress with the scenes, because we're at a point now that we've got a very ambitious scene to animate, so we need a good approach for how we're going to pull that off. It's not the first time we've had ambitious scenes to animate. There's been times in the past plenty where we've had The car hijacking with Carol the Barrel in a flashback was definitely the first time I was tested with animations and scenes. And then shortly after the fruits jumping out the basket was another time I was tested with animations. But I managed to get all of those to work with an RPG Maker, but with not really much effort, just making more frames, as many frames as possible out of the sprite sheets. I did that approach. But it can be very risky doing it that way, as Autumn pointed out early in the stream. If you ever have to change your assets, it can be a lot of work to redo those. So we're looking for a smarter method potentially, but we'll see. Cool, that looks nice. You like this character? Yeah, he's looking cool now. The stream before this one, we took a bit of time getting his clothing done. We were trying to think of the perfect colour scheme for him, and he was looking a little bit garish, like with his bright colours. He had a bright red tattoo originally, but we have a professional like spriter in the stream. Well, I don't know if they see themselves as professional, but in my eyes they are a pro, because it's awesome stuff. So luckily, because we had a pro spriter in the stream, they gave me a tip on how to like make his tattoo look better, and he does. It looks so good now. It blends in perfectly without being like, whoa, that's garish. So but yes, he looks cool. I like him too, but he's the first, this guy here, this is the first NPC that you're gonna meet in the game, other than Carol the Barrel, of course. Carol the Barrel's first, and he's second, and he's here, and he's going to be one of Lakefall's residents, and there'll be a chance to flesh him out more and his story when we have some more character streams in the future, once we've got the scenes out of the way and the battle stuff out of the way. Alright guys, should we pass the love on to someone else? I think so. I want to put a trivia in chat if anyone's up for it. Who's up for some Raindrop Chronicles trivia? For those of you that have been reading our Lore Bible. And we will see who's online. So yes, I'm looking forward to updating you all on where we are on this on Friday. I'm telling you what animation approach I'm taking, and who knows, maybe by Friday I'll have finished Duncan's sequence when he lifts his axe up. I'd love to be able to say I finished that by Friday. I think that'd be cool. So let's see who is online. Sure, okay, trivia exclamation mark. Question time. What is Rose's class? That needs to be changed to Violet now, because she is no longer Rose. She is called Violet. Vampire Van coming in, sneaking in there with the answer. Point a tiefling bard. Lol, yeah, technically Rex is correct, because that's what I am in D&D. Because there's no Rose anymore, that could be true. Okay, so Van gets a point, top of the leaderboard. Has that worked? Does it need to be points with an S? Have I done it wrong? I always forget. There we go. I should get a point for that. Yeah, I'll give you a point in my heart for your wittiness. but I can't bend the rules of the trivia. LOL, playing some Pathfinder, Cadus Rex. Rex has started a D&D campaign, actually. I think it's a D&D one, isn't it? Not Pathfinder, but I'm not 100% sure. I know you said you're doing one. Alright, so everybody, find someone to say hi to today. Today we'll go to someone else. Let's see if they're still online, because sometimes people aren't, they go off. I think we should get to Handalf. She is super lovely. She's from the land of Ireland, and she's super friendly, super nice and wholesome person, and she's playing Kingdom Hearts, so let's say hi. I've never played Kingdom Hearts before, I will confess. Most Final Fantasy fans have, but I haven't. Not me. I'm about to start a D&D campaign. Oh right, so it is D&D. I know that the two are similar, right? I think they are. Okay, so I will see you all on Friday, but let's say hi to Handalf. She's super nice, so let's be nice and say hi and see what she's up to. Okay, everybody, I will see you all on Friday. Thanks for hanging out and take care.